Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Audience Engagement One-on-One. My name is Fernanda Sierra Suarez. I am the Community Engagement Manager at Culture Days National, and I use she, her pronouns. A few reminders on the Zoom webinar settings and access features available to you today before we get started. You can turn on the option for closed captions and enable auto-generated English captions. You can find this button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Only the presenters' microphones and videos will be on, so please type in your questions into the Q&A box, which you can also find below your screen. We will be addressing any questions submitted at the end of the session. However, if we do not get through your question, you're always welcome to connect with us at info@culturedays.ca, and we'll be happy to connect and support you. Today's session will be recorded and available next week via your emails, and will also be available on our webinar series page at culturedays.ca/resources. Today, I'm speaking to you from the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. This area, now called Toronto, is covered by Treaty 13th with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and these territories are guided by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant. Culture Days, our partner organizations and teams are committed to working with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities, seeking to uphold equity for all to participate and support a diversity of art forms and cultural experiences. We're so excited to be hosting this webinar in preparation for Culture Days, this year taking place September 20th to October 13th, all across Canada. Today, you'll be hearing from media expert Mercedes Blackwood, communications coordinator at Culture Days National, Christy Carrier, and partnerships and programs manager at Ontario Culture Days, Kaitlyn Patience. They will each provide us with tips and resources to support your event promotion and audience engagement efforts for Culture Days and beyond. This includes insights on building marketing campaigns, social media content, working with the media, and tips on how to engage your local community and collaborators for cross promotions. Okay, Mercedes will start us off and she will share some tips on how to plan, run marketing campaigns, and how to increase awareness of your event. Welcome, Mercedes. Thank you so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure to have your media expertise as part of our webinar sessions.
Our goal is that this will create a momentum that you can use long past Culture Days to continue to draw people towards you and the wonderful work that you're doing and putting out into the world. All right, so in terms of what we'll cover today, I'll cover just a brief bit of each section of the guide, which again, you'll go in there and find a lot more about it when you go and check out the guide yourself, but I'll give you a good overview. And the nice thing is when Christy joins us, she's going to make a lot of this make sense by showing you some of the content and marketing materials that I'm going to refer to. And Kaitlyn is really going to drive it home in terms of telling you everything you need to know, in particular about collaboration. Collaboration is really a magic pill when it comes to Culture Days, and it is a real way to hack into making sure that you are maximizing every effort. And so she's really going to talk to you about that, but we'll touch on it as well. All right, so first of all, I want to make sure you know where to find this guide. And so if you go to culturedays.ca, go under resources, and as you can see, we've got all those cool tiles that are there, sharing a bunch of different resources with you, and there is where you will find the promotions and media relations guide, okay? In case you're wondering, where do I find this thing? And why use it, right? Because look, we're giving you lots of materials. Some of you absolutely know how to do what you're doing in terms of marketing and promotion. So why use the guide? Well, what we've tried to do, once again, is to give a nice overview of various areas where you can really maximize your effort. Maybe you know a lot about social media, but you don't know a lot about working with mass media. Maybe you are an expert at maximizing your email database, but could use a little help when it comes to creating content. And so what we hope is that it's a nice overview, a nice guide that'll give you just a bit of everything you need to be successful with your marketing campaign, okay? Overall, what do we want you to be able to do with this knowledge? We want you to be able to increase attendance to your Culture Days event. We just want as many people as possible to engage with you over this time. Secondly, we want you to be able to build awareness, right? This is what a lot of this is about. This marketing campaign, although Culture Days at its core is about making sure that people understand that our lives are enriched when we get involved in arts and culture, it's for you. It's for the organizers, for the artists, for the creators, for the collectives, for the organizations who are Culture Days, who make Culture Days what it is. What we want for you is for more people in your region, in your local area, and across Canada to know who you are and to know what you have to offer. And we want you to be able to use these resources to make that happen. And so that leads into the third wish for you, which is that this would help you to create lasting connections, lasting momentum that will take you far beyond the end of Culture Days into many years to come. All right, so let's touch on each section and just get a quick overview of some of the tips and tools that you'll find within the guide. So one of the first things we'll talk about is we'll step back and say, look, this really is about how do we describe Culture Days, right? Every year we spend at the national level a long time figuring out what are the right words and phrases and sentences that we should use to really capture the magic that is Culture Days. It can be something that's difficult to describe in a way. It's so unique. And so we've taken the time to do that this year, as we do every year, to find some of the really easy ways that you can be able to very quickly and easily tell people what is Culture Days about anyway? What are you doing there? And what can I get out of it? So we've assembled a page of words and phrases that you are welcome to use. Let me say that again. You are welcome, and we encourage you to use them. Lift them right off of the page. Take the phrases, take the words that we've put together, and feel free to use them when you're talking about Culture Days, when you're creating content, when you're writing things about Culture Days. Please feel free to use these words and phrases and to add many more of your own. If I can give a recommendation about what some of the most compelling things are to other humans, it's words and phrases that create pictures in our mind. The more that you can help somebody to imagine or immerse themselves in what it is you're talking about, the more it resonates with people. So the more colorful and descriptive and tactile the language, go ahead and use it generously, because these things really help our marketing to come alive when people really can sort of see and feel it even before they get there. All right. So let's talk about promotion in general and what it's for, and how to do it well. So in general, my advice is always to keep it really simple. You've got a lot going on. So besides Culture Days, I'm well aware that many of you, you work for a municipality or an organization, you are a creator yourself, you are doing work every day, and you don't have a lot of time. And I know that, part of it is not all creativity. Some of it's admin, right? And some of it is planning, and some of it is facilitation. And so we don't have a lot of time. And so what we want to do is to keep things simple, because simple is best. When things are simple and clear and easy for you to do on a consistent basis, they are always that much more effective. And so our overarching advice is to keep things as simple as possible. And we're going to give you some tools as to how to do that today. So overall, the goal of promotion is to build connection. You do want people to know about your event, but really you want them to know about you. You want them to know, why should I engage with you? Why should I interact with you? Why should I take time from my busy day, my busy life, my busy month, my family? Why should I engage with you? And promotion is about letting people know what the benefits are to them for interacting with you. And we have two goals when we're promoting anything at all, and two simple goals. Number one, we need people to take notice, right? We need them to look up, as I said, from their busy lifestyles and to actually stop and listen and notice what you're doing. That's number one. And then number two, we don't just want them to see us, do we? We need them to do something. We either need them to register, sign up, come out, cast a ballot, right? We need people to do things. And so rather than assuming, we're going to make sure they know what it is we want them to do or what it is they need to do in order to engage with us successfully, right? If there are three things that people need to know in general about anything that they decide they're going to get involved in, it's information, right? Just give me the brass tacks. What am I getting into? What is this about? What is it you're offering me? Second, people need direction. So that is, they need information that is more specific to how do I maneuver myself? What do you need me to do in order to get involved? Again, is there a link that I need to follow in order to register? Where do you have directions available for your location? Is it an outdoor event? What if it rains? Is it postponed? Is it canceled? Let people know what direction you want them to go. What do you need them to do? And lastly, you want to really, really highlight the benefits, right? What's in it for me? Everyone needs to know what's in it for me. What do I get out of this? And that's okay. That's human nature. Every single one of us is really, really busy, as we said earlier. It's a noisy, noisy world. And so the faster I can quickly see what the benefit is to me for interacting with you, the better and more effective your promotions are. Okay? All right. So moving forward to collaboration, I simply say we are better together, right? Again, I just mentioned that so many of us, we are busy. We are wearing a lot of hats. There's a lot going on. And so in order to really make this experience a fantastic one, we highly recommend collaboration. And there are a lot of collaboration tools built right into Culture Days in order to make that very easy to do. Collaboration is about partnership, right? It's about working together so that we can work less but go higher, right? That is really what we're about. And so if you're talking about the main benefits of collaboration, it's going to allow you to tap into new networks and audiences, right? So let me give a small example. Let's say for social media, some of you have seen the ability to be able to post with another person or group or organization, right? We can co-post something. It's co-branded. We both posted it. Well, now I have been exposed to your audience, which I wasn't tapped into before because perhaps they didn't know about me and weren't following me. And the same is true for you. You now have access to my audience. They now will see your content. They now will learn about you in a way that they may not have before if we hadn't partnered, right? Also, collaboration allows us to maximize efforts. I'm going to sound like a broken record and keep saying how busy we are and how many different priorities that we have. And so working with others absolutely allows you to maximize efforts. Using that same example, let's say we both agree that we can do 2 posts a week each. Well, that just turned into 4, didn't it? Because now we are both posting, each of us can do 2. Now both of us benefit as though we posted 4 times, even though our team was only able to manage those 2 posts. But working together, we have maximized our efforts. Next, it's a real no-brainer in terms of ways to increase attendance. So there are the hubs, but there are also other small gatherings and collaborations that happen during Culture Days that just make it more lucrative for someone to come out. If I can come to a location and go to 1 or 2 or 3 things at the same time, that's a good thing for me, right? I go, I park, or I take transit down, and I decide I'm going to spend the day there. I'm going to spend the afternoon in the area, and I have touched on a few different groups in that short time. And that only happened because I was aware that these things were in close proximity to each other. And so I was able to have a better experience, me, the general public, and you, the organizer, benefits from that traffic that is coming out to kind of see you as a holistic experience, right? And then lastly, all of the above leads to an increase in exposure. As I said, you will now be in front of audiences and networks and people and other organizations, other artists whom perhaps you may not have met otherwise. And so now that you've met, well, the sky is the limit. And certainly beyond Culture Days, you can continue to cultivate these relationships To what end, only you know, but I know it'll be good. All right. Okay, so let's briefly touch on marketing, which is all about planning and process. And I know marketing seems so, it seems so sexy and elusive, but the truth is, good marketing comes down to good planning and process. It's about asking the questions that you need to ask in terms of who are we trying to talk to? That is, who is our target audience? Who does what we're offering most appeal to? How can we make sure that the people who already know and love us want to get involved? And how do we compel those people to tell people who don't know about us to also come out and get involved? And that, in a nutshell, is the purpose of marketing. So here's how we can break it down when we're first tackling it. And really, what you're building for yourself within the larger Culture Days marketing campaign is a personal one. You're building a small marketing campaign around your own event or series of events around your organization. And so you're going to come up with various pieces of content in different forms, right? We have many different categories of content, but you're going to come up with different ways to send through this message. So really, the job here is to step back for a moment and figure out, okay, what do I want to say? Who do I need to say it to? And what's the best way for me to say it? And then once that's all ready, what are the best ways for me to distribute this information to the people that I know need to hear it, right? So when we're looking at content, we're asking the question, what content? What type is it? Is it email? Is it video? Is it audio? What are we talking about? Who, right? So this is a two-pronged question that goes about both outwards and comes inwards. So who is it meant to attract? Who is going to pick up this information? Who is it for? And is it put in such a way that that target can really clearly understand? But the other question of the who is, who in your organization, who in your group will make the content? I always say that the best thing about planning is you've got to name names. It's time to say who out of the two of us, sometimes, or sometimes it's more if you're very, very lucky, which one of us will actually make the content. And that's so that we're not both left doing that Spider-Man meme where we're just pointing at each other and I thought you did it and you thought I did it and it just didn't get done, right? And then next we need to talk about where. So where's it going to go? Which of the platforms are you going to use? Or is it going to be sent out as an email? Is it going to be embedded on your website? You need to decide where's the best spot for the content. And then lastly, when. When is it going out? When does it need to be ready? When is it being posted? When is it being published? Set the day, set a date, set the time. Again, this is to allow you to be able to automate a little bit as well as do as much pre-planning for your marketing and content as humanly possible, because you're going to be busy during Culture Days. You're busy putting on your event, you're busy doing your thing. And so it would be great if you're able to put some of these things together and put them in the can so that when it's time to go, you've already made it, it's already been scheduled, and then you know it's going to run because you've already planned for it. Okay, so when you're planning your marketing, you're planning what content you're going to make, you're planning where it should go and when, ask yourself these questions to start. What do people need to know, right? Talked about some of those details. What formats best convey our message, right? What's the best way? Again, is this best presented as a video? Is that what people really seem to engage with? Or do they tend to listen? Or maybe it's static pictures. What is the best way for us to put this information out? Or what are the best several ways for us to put this information out? And that leads right into what tools and platforms do we already use and excel at? What I'll say about that is my advice is never to reinvent the wheel in the middle of a campaign, okay? If you're not already on TikTok, don't worry about it, okay? You can certainly talk about that as a later strategy, but let's say right now you're excelling on Instagram and you're doing a little bit of Facebook. Maybe those are the two places. Let's maximize your efforts on those two platforms. I mean, just doing everything you can possibly do on those two platforms, whatever parameters and tools they allow you to have so that you can promote. Let's use them to the fullest during this campaign. And given everything that we'll learn while we're doing this, we can then look at expanding and adding new platforms. But I really want you to look at really nurturing the audiences you've already got, really nurturing those audiences and trying to grow them using the tools and platforms that you are already comfortable with, because that means you'll do it. Okay, and that leads into my last one. What do we have the capacity to do consistently, right? We need to be able to do things consistently. We certainly can't, if we can commit to once a week, then once a week it is. But if you need more than that, then you've got to do what you've got to do. Okay, all right. Quickly, lastly, working with the media. Again, the guide will give you some great comprehensive tips. Go on in, there are examples, there are templates for press releases, for media advisories, for events listing. We have lots of templates and tools for you to use in order to know, how do I engage with the mass media? How do I take advantage of what it is they have to offer, which is access to a wider audience than what we normally would have, right? And media covers many different outlets, many different types. I want to be clear about that. The word media is a little bit small these days, and really it's because there are so many different ways that we share information. So any outlet that shares information with an audience can be a media outlet. That's anything from a blogger who is known in their realm, all the way to your favorite TV news station. Okay, so we've given some tips within the guide as to how to build a pitch. That is how you ask media to engage with you. There's a little bit of a formula to it, and so we've shared that with you. You know these questions, you learned them in school, the W5. We need to ask these questions as we formulate the pitch. And when we ask people, that is, when we actually send out the pitch, usually via email, to the right people, and that listing is also in the guide, is who should I contact for various mediums. Make sure it's short, make sure it's clear, make sure it's compelling. And that is because these are very, very busy people who get hundreds to thousands of emails a day. And so if you want to really grab their attention, do them the courtesy of getting right to the point, okay? And making sure that it is a compelling, newsworthy thing that you're talking about. Follow up with them, because sometimes they're going to miss it. Don't be afraid to follow up, and prepare for success. That is practice. Get your things ready. Make sure you know what you want to say, so that when they call you for that inevitable interview, you will absolutely be ready. Okay, so that's the overview. I encourage you to go into the guide, spend some time with it. And certainly if you have questions or need any assistance, reach out. We are very much here to help. And that wraps up the overview of the guide. I'll invite Fernanda back. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and good luck. I can't wait to see what you come up with.
Thank you so much, Mercedes. Those are super, super useful insights. I really appreciate it. Everything you shared, particularly about going beyond, sending a message, building that connection, and how it's important. I'm sure it'll resonate with many organizers today. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Quick reminder that if you have any questions for Mercedes, please submit them through the Q&A box so we can get to them at the end. And thank you, Chris, for joining us. I was about to invite you on screen. So our communications coordinator, Christy Carrier, is going to guide us through the Culture Days marketing drive and show us the various promo materials available to you that can help you promote your events and connect them to the greater campaign. And some of those things include the templates that Mercedes just mentioned. So thank you for joining us, Chris, and yeah, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to take you through our campaign kit, just so you can see what we have in there and where everything is. Of course, this is being recorded, so if you don't need to memorize everything, you can always just revisit the video and follow along afterwards. But I'm just going to start us from the Culture Days website here, and you're going to go up to your dashboard, and it's in resources. So that was dashboard, resources, and then you'll see this big yellow button that says Marketing Campaign Kit. So this is the campaign kit. It's in a Google Drive here. We have multiple different tools and resources for you to use. So for example, we have our brand guide PDF that will just give you an idea of how to use these assets. We have our logo and font files that you can download and use with your designs. We have some videos that you can use, the media relations template that we were mentioning, and an outreach one-pager, so just a quick overview of what Culture Days is that you can send out to people. We also have our campaign posters. So if you open that up, you'll see we have our ready to print, ready to post versions. So we have our print version and the web version. These are just ready to go posters, but if you want to customize and make it your own, add your own event info, then you can go into the customizable poster folder. So in here, you'll see there are customizable options. We have a few different file types like the Word document or the InDesign files. So whatever you're more comfortable using, you can just click on open those and enter your own event information, logos, and things like that. We also have the same content in our multilingual assets folder. So it's the same thing, just translated into multiple different languages. So whichever you would like to use. We believe we have up to 18 now, and hopefully we'll be adding more as time goes on. But for example, if you open it up, the first page again is that ready to use section. So the print poster, social media post, web poster. And then again, if you want to customize, go into the customizable folder, and we have our files in there as well. The other thing I wanted to show you is our social media folder. Once again, when you open it up, we have the ready to go versions. If you just want something quick, you can post and just share that you're participating in Culture Days. Those are really easy to use. We also have some animated social media assets if you want to make reels and things like that. But again, if you want to customize, you go into customizable folder. And we have a few things in here. We have some graphics that you can add to your posts, things like banners or shapes. Shapes in our brand colors that you can play around with. So these are things that you can just download and add to your photos in whichever design software you're using, Canva, for example. And that will just help you add a little nice touch to your posts. But the main thing that's new this year is our Canva templates. So I'm going to open up the social media template document, this #1 document here. So if you're not familiar with Canva, it's an online free graphic design software. So if you make an account using an email address, you can make a free account and you'll be able to use any of these templates. So the explanation, the instructions on how to use these are right up here in the document. In this video, I'm not going to go so much into how to use Canva itself, but I'll show you how to access all the templates. If you do want to learn more about how to use Canva and how to edit in Canva, we have some written instructions as well as the video recording from our last webinar. That will take you through the specifics of how to add a photo, how to edit the photo, how to change the text, stuff like that. But down here, you'll see there are links to the different template options that we have. So I'm just going to choose this top one, for example, and it will open up into Canva. So you'll see we have some different files in here, just different colors you can choose from and different logo colors. So just choose whichever goes with the photo that you're using. But you'll notice I can't edit in here yet. That's because this is just the template. So what you want to do is go to File and then make a copy, and that will copy it into your own Canva account and you can edit in there. So this is the most important step. You will not need to request edit access because we don't want everyone changing the original template. You want to make a copy of the template into your account before you make changes. So you're going to go to File and then make a copy. And then it will open up into your Canva account, and here you'll be able to add your own photo. You'll be able to change the event information. You can add your own logos and things, and whenever you're happy with your post, you can just go up to share and download it, and you'll be able to download to your computer and post your social media post. Yeah, so that is Canva. The other tool I wanted to show you today is our auto-generated social media post tool in our website. So this is a new tool this year, and you can access it again through your dashboard. And basically what it does is it takes the information that you already input when you were registering your event, so the photo, the title, the time, stuff like that, and it uses it to create a social media post for you. So you're going to go to your events, and you will need to have your event published. So if it's still in draft, make sure you publish it, and then you'll be able to use this feature. But let's say I've published this Culture Days example event, and you will go to manage and promote this big button here. And social media graphics, the second one here. As you can see, I don't have a published event, but once you do publish your event, opening this will prompt you through a few different options of how you want your post to look like. And then you'll be able to download it and post directly. So it does take the photo and everything from your event listing. So just keep that in mind. Choose photos that you would want to share on social media, and that will make this post better as well. But of course, if you have any issues with this or with the Canva templates, or you just have any specific design questions, feel free to email us at info@culturedays.ca, and we'll be happy to help you. And yeah, I'll pass it back to Fernanda now.
Thank you so much, Chris. That's super helpful. And again, you can find a link to the Culture Days marketing drive in the brand logos and campaign materials resource, or by signing into your dashboard and clicking resources. And the links are also in the chat. Now, I'm delighted to welcome Kaitlyn Patience, Partnerships and Programs Manager at Ontario Culture Days. Thank you so much for joining us and being here today, Kaitlyn.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today, and thank you to the Culture Days team for putting together this webinar, and as well to Mercedes and Christy for the resources and inspiration that you've already shared. If you could do me a favor and share in the chat if you're representing yourself as an individual artist today or facilitator, and I'll just try to adjust if I can how I'm speaking, just in case not everyone is representing organizations. Today, I'm aiming to share tangible to-dos alongside inspiration for your 2024 and hopefully 2025 and future years Culture Days events. So I am the Partnerships and Programs Manager. Second slide, Fernanda.
Second, see.
Thanks. So I'm the Partnerships and Programs Manager at Ontario Culture Days. I'm deeply, deeply committed to community engagement in the arts sector. Before joining Ontario Culture Days in 2021, I worked for an arts council planning and growing the Culture Days events in my own community. So that was really special for me. Next slide. So I wanted to talk about community connection. So pre-event, here are some ideas on what you can be doing. So for advertising and marketing, I'll only speak about this briefly because it's not my area of expertise, and leave that to Mercedes. But advanced advertising and marketing, even if it's free, even if it's grassroots, is very, very important. So be sure that you're sharing your upcoming events on your own platforms, including social media, newsletters, websites. Don't forget to be posting your events on local and free event listings, including digital and print. Get in touch with local media to see what's needed to share your event. Mercedes talked about that as well. Don't forget to look at both radio and local TV, and don't forget to invite them to attend as well. That can be helpful, especially for TV. They can come on site and do a little piece. Connect with local print sources to see if they can share your event in advance. This includes newspapers, magazines, and community bulletins. And use the resources provided by our organizations here to create your event postcards, your posters, and more. You and other organizers, you can hand them out, you can place them in community rack card locations. And I also always love to ask volunteers, give them a couple hours, some posters and a tape gun, and have them go around town and put up as many posters or postcards as they can. Organizers are really important. I cannot overstate the importance of having all organizers that you're working with share the upcoming event on their own networks. So if your event involves more than just you, then reach out to all of the artists, facilitators, organizations, and businesses involved beforehand and express to them the importance of cross-promotion. I usually provide them 1 to 2 months out with the graphics and information that they'll need, even just little text blurbs, kind of the way Culture Days has done for you. Take it and do it for any of those people that you're working with. Provide them the graphics and text that they need. So it's really simple. They're just copying, pasting, posting, and sending. I always say that the most successful events rely on absolutely everyone. And I love the concept of audience sharing. And this really is the perfect opportunity to be doing this. If you're planning a larger event, I find the most extensive and supportive audiences come from working with performance groups. So local dance studios, theaters, etc. This is because when people perform, their loved ones almost always come to watch. For example, the parents and siblings of young dancers or the partners and children of actors. So be sure to let groups like this know that they're very much encouraged to invite their friends and family. They don't have to think of it as just coming and doing a job. So for partners, if you have community partners who have a role or a stake in your event, you can absolutely ask them to help you promote your event. Again, provide them with the graphics and information that will make this as easy as possible for them. And in future, I think we're a little bit late for this at this point, but in future, make cross-promotion a part of your original ask. Sometimes it's the only thing I ask for. Partners could include local businesses, sponsors, venue owners, municipalities, libraries, etc. And then I put this additional note here about special offerings. So pre-event special offerings, I'm very into the power of magic and the unexpected. So consider adding some sort of element of surprise to your event. Some of the things that we've done in the past are, don't laugh, a pre-organized flash mob with a local facilitator. It's a great way to involve the community in advance of your event by having like a group practice session, either in person or online. It also provides a guaranteed audience because once they, commit to doing this flash mob or commit to practicing, they will also commit to attending so that they can then be a part of the surprise, which is a very special feeling for people. I also always say that free food is always a hit, or activities with the opportunity to make and take something. Some of the most popular activities I've seen, including like lineups out the door, include things like cupcake decorating, and workshops and classes led by local cooking schools. So if you can make anything like that a part of your event, people do love it. Next slide. In terms of community connection post-event, I've compiled the smallest of ideas here that will hopefully help you stay connected with the Culture Days audiences beyond just your event offering. So for marketing, definitely provide opportunities for attendees to sign up for e-newsletters to learn more. I find it's helpful to let people know how often you send out your newsletters or similar, whether that be monthly, bi-monthly, etc. And then organizers and facilitators can also put out business cards or postcards that explain more about what you offer throughout the year. I also have, for data, you can work with organizers to provide event experience surveys. And oftentimes you can offer like a raffle draw prize for those who fill out the survey. And when you're doing that, don't forget to include a little e-newsletter opt-in option for those who provide their contact information. That's a great way to stay connected. And then I've also included special offerings here as well. So if you have a token with your business or organization name, definitely put those out on display or offer them to visitors. As I said, people do love freebies. You can also provide, I've seen people provide coupons like to try a free class. You can also put out signage about or let participants know about your next show, your next workshop, or your next exhibition if that's relevant to you. I always emphasize, so while all of those other things are awesome, the important thing is how people are feeling and what their experience is like on the day during your event. So definitely emphasize that on site in order to foster lasting connections and long-term participation. Be friendly and helpful, and of course, passionate about what you're doing. Your love for arts and culture will no doubt be catching. One of my favorite things about Culture Days is the opportunity for audiences to discover new artists, organizations, and cultures. Next to word of mouth, I truly believe that participation in an activity is the best way to grow your membership, your network, or your community. Next slide. Mercedes did a great job in highlighting some of the reasons why collaboration is so important. And in this instance, when I say collaboration, we're usually talking about putting on events with other artists, organizations, and businesses. So sharing networks, attracting larger audiences, lessens the workload, and finding strong partnerships. If you want to hop to the next slide for a minute, Fernanda. In terms of strong partners, I've made a little list here. This is, anyone can be a partner, but this is who I consider strong partners. And it's usually because they already have a built-in audience or membership or network. So this includes municipalities, libraries, arts councils, galleries and museums, artists or artist collectives, cultural associations, Indigenous organizations, performing arts organizations, and I'm sure there's more. And then if you want to hop ahead to the festival hub slide, we'll talk about creating event hubs. Yeah, awesome. So I can see some amazing hubs popping up at culturedays.ca all over the country. Culture Days actually just shared, I'm sure you saw, a newsletter this week featuring a amazing list of examples. In Ontario, we feature festival hubs as a very intrinsic part of our marketing strategy. So ONCD works with regional cultural partners throughout the province to coordinate these festival hubs, which hopefully you know, hubs offer a density of arts and culture programs. So we're actually working with those strong partners that I talked about. So we have like a contact in the municipality cultural department or at a really popular gallery or a strong arts council, etc. So these expert organizers or community leads, as we often call them, they host major events, they foster community engagement, and they support diverse artistic and cultural experiences. And hubs obviously encourage collaboration within communities, and they highlight the uniqueness of each region, and they absolutely foster civic pride. If you want to turn to the next slide, Fernanda, I'll give a couple of quick examples of communities coming together in a collaborative effort for Culture Days. So the City of Thunder Bay worked collaboratively last year. You can see some of the groups there that participated, and they ended up with 34 events in their region, which was really spectacular because I think it was their first year really like going for it and participating in a super strong way. And then on the next slide here, similar, Vaughan decided to go big last year, and they worked with some of the organizations that you see there, and they resulted in a total of 73 events in their region, which was just spectacular. And they also won some of our Spotlight Recognition Awards. Next slide. So I want to provide a little bit of inspiration on collaboration. So I've pulled some really great examples from past years. So I'm just going to quickly tell you about them, just sort of off the top of my head. In 2022, the City of Guelph ran their Guelph Artist in Residence program. And so they worked with 3 different artists, and they put out a call, like a poetry call, and anyone from the public was asked to submit for this sort of contest a piece of poetry. And the piece that was selected was then taken by a choral society and made into this beautiful audio soundtrack. And on this particular evening where you see this picture here, we all gathered in this place called the Goldie Ruins in Guelph. It's this absolutely beautiful heritage, stone ruin area. And they had created this sort of projection art element where participants could go up and draw and paint whatever they wanted in white, on white, but it would project up onto the walls in this sort of beautiful neon colors. And in the background, there was this choral poetry music playing. So it was this beautiful coming together of like, what was that, 5 different major collaborators into this really just special and different event. Next slide. So the Milton World Beats event was super neat. This was how Milton Culture Days launched their event in 2023. So they had coming together a group, Aquaba Cultural Exchange, who brought their drums from the Congo, and they had Crash Rhythm, who brought their garbage cans, as well as you can see here, their drumsticks and their buckets. They also had a band with a strong drummer come and play. And then they also had a South Asian Bhangra dance, Bollywood West, come to get people moving. And they just brought it together in this really cool, world diverse cultural beats event where the audience got to participate from beginning to end. Next slide. This is an image from 2022, I believe, from the Sault Ste. Marie Cultural Family Fun Day. I love the way Sault Ste. Marie does it. What they do is they meet bi-monthly, and these organizations come together and decide to put on this large event in an outdoor park in their downtown cultural corridor. And they just talk about how they can bring their best activity or event to this space. And then the public gets to come out on this day and enjoy each of the offerings. So it's a beautiful coming together of the community. Next slide. This is it's an exhibition called A Place I Call Home Halton. And essentially what happened was the town of Oakville came up with this idea where they invited an artist named Faisal Anwar the artist came up with the idea and was located in Oakville. And they invited all of the other communities in Halton, including Milton and Burlington, to participate. And they put out this to community members to share an image of what they felt represented home to them in Oakville. And the Halton region also joined in to, I believe, financially support the project. And this won a Spotlight Award as well. And then the exhibition was displayed in a different way at each participating community. So again, a lovely example of collaboration. And the last one here, next slide, is the York Region Dance Together Festival, which has been going on for a number of years now. And they really go to different locations in the York region. And I think they've partnered with other groups as well, like in Kitchener. And they present these events outdoors in these beautiful locations where the public can just join in and dance along with them. And it involves working with the city as well. So it's lovely. Next slide. The last examples that I wanted to give are community projects. I think these are a great way to pre-event and post-event and during event really connect with the community to foster that lasting connection. So they provide an opportunity for partners, for community sponsors who maybe give you the supplies or financial support, for local artists to facilitate the project. They absolutely result in community buy-in because the community is creating it in real time alongside the artist facilitator. And as I said, leads to lasting connections. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. So here we have an image of a piano and a piano stool that's being painted by the community. And if you hop to the next slide, Fernanda, you can see here, they're painting it again here. And keep in mind that piece in the back, because if you go to the next slide, the year before, you can see a little girl here. The artist came up with this idea to do this sort of shooting starburst artwork. And so everybody got to come and paint a piece of wood, which then got glued on in the artist's chosen design. Next slide. A few years before that, for this community project, they created an image of sort of like a lawn outdoorscape, and people got to come and create these little mini kites, which were then put onto this piece. And you can see behind them here is another example of a community project. These are tiles that they got to paint the year before. And all of these are being put up into large public community center locations like art centers, like swim centers, et cetera, whatever buildings are owned by the municipality, but they could theoretically go anywhere and be presented in any way. Next slide. Here we have an artist alongside other artists, and they were each given what was called a pallet bench, so benches that were created out of those shipping pallets, and they got to paint their own design on it. And then immediately following this, the public got to come and sit on them the following day and enjoy a beautiful series of performances and activities out on the lawn of this community park. Next slide. This was one of my absolute favorites. The last two are actually my top favorites. This is an artist facilitator who worked with an arts organization. I believe it's called Art House out of Oakville, and they decided to bring these canoes and lead a painting of them. So you can see here the artist has designed different sections for each participant to draw on the paint with Sharpie. And then if you go to the next slide, Fernanda, you can see here they've actually then installed it outside the art center, and they worked with local indigenous plant organizations to actually plant in it. And this canoe is still there, it's still growing, it's beautiful. And then the last example is a really cool one. This is actually a pre-event activation. So this signage was used during the Culture Days event weekend. But when they did the launch of like the theater season, we went to this location and we had records, you remember records, and we put them on the record spinner, and people got to dip their paintbrush in various shades of white to purple to pink, and then just paint as the records spun around. And then we let them all dry, and the artist adhered them to this backdrop here. So that was a really great way to get people excited about the Culture Days events, which were happening a week later. So I liked that. Last slide. So thank you so much. I hope I've given you a little bit of inspiration and some tips and to-dos. You can always reach out to us at Ontario Culture Days if you're in Ontario, at outreach@onculturedays.ca or Kaitlyn@onculturedays.ca. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. That was super, super helpful. Those projects are so cool. They're so fun, particularly the last one you showed us with the records. I would have not guessed they were records, so really appreciate everything. Okay, we have a few questions, I believe, from the Q&A that we can get through. Okay, the first one from Bilal. My event spreads over 4 days, but I see that only one event is getting traction. Can you suggest any ideas on how to promote the other days of when the programming is taking place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bilal, I would probably go back to, I'm trying to click open your event here, but it's not working. I would go back to the importance of the organizers or facilitators. So I assume on the events on the other 3 days that you have other people doing events. If you do, definitely reach out to them and tell them that you want them to invite their networks. And then Mercedes, any ideas on how else they can promote it?
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. I would do that first. Absolutely. But secondly, what is different about the other days? So if there's a difference in time, I think I've just opened it. So I see one day you have at noon, 2 days it's at 5, one day it's at 10. What I would recommend is in that Sunday ad, and when you're describing Sunday, say, hey, can't make it out during the day? We have 2 evening opportunities, 2 after work opportunities on Thursday and Tuesday, and say that on Sunday, in the Sunday one, and then each one show that there's other opportunities. So on the 5 o'clock ones, can't make it in the evening, we have 2 daytime opportunities, one at noon, one at 10 a.m. Feel free to sign up for either one of those if this time doesn't work for you. So you might have to sort of individually advertise each of the days, highlighting why that day is a good day to come.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. Thank you. Great suggestions. Some along those lines, Mercedes, what are some tips you can give maybe to organizers that have limited budgets on how to maximize their promo efforts?
Yes. So everything Kaitlyn said. One of the best ways to maximize a lack of budget is to work with others. What does each of us have? Right? What can each of us do, and putting those resources together, but also the art of content marketing, that is making multiple types of content in different areas so that you're always touching on people, can really overcome a lack of money in terms of buying eyeballs or buying people's time. Really, if it's like, we talk about it in our email newsletter, then we talked about it on social, and then we're on X and we're talking about it there. So find ways of talking about what you're doing in different realms, and that's a really great way to maximize. But absolutely, collaboration is one of the best ways to maximize your efforts and to overcome even being alone, right? So some of you're doing this event by yourself. Collaboration is your best bet, is to work with others so that you can combine your resources, even one other person, to combine your resources and really tap into each other's networks.
Great. Thank you, Mercedes. And speaking about those collaborations, Kaitlyn, you talked about the importance of and value those collaborations and partnerships can bring. Um, when you're talking about strong partners, what are some tips on identifying potential partners that align with you and with your values and your goals?
Yeah. I mean, I think as an organization, it's really a good idea to have a clear idea of your mission and goals. And if, as a person, this might just be identifying your personal goals for yourself or for your career. To find partners that are similar, I would usually review their websites, their social media, as well as their past projects to see if their values, their work, and their events look like yours. It's also a good idea to really assess their impact and their reputation within the community. So sometimes this just means asking for feedback from others about them, looking for people who have attended their programming. We see that happening all the time for everything, as well as, of course, reading reviews online. I personally like to partner with people and organizations who I see making a concentrated effort towards BIPOC inclusion and programming. And some of the above, will help you get an idea of their audience demographic. Like-minded partners will often have overlapping networks and audiences.
Right. Yeah, that is very helpful to know. In order to maintain those partnerships and nurture those like more long-term collaborations, what are some other ideas you can share?
Yeah, this often comes up for us just as an organization that has this really big fall festival, but we want to be maintaining those relationships year round. So regular check-ins, just by email or text or however you know the person or best communicate with them is really nice. Friendly check-ins are important. It doesn't always have to be about, business or professional purposes. So coffee dates, stuff like that, locking those in. I think that you can really continue your relationship well by asking for and providing letters of support. So if you're applying for a grant or you're trying to put together a new project, asking for support in that way, or saying yes when people ask you for things can help to enhance the relationship. And then what I always like to do is consider partners for opportunities that come up and offer it to them. So if I'm looking for a photographer for this event that's outside of festival season, or an artist facilitator for this event at a different time of year that I've worked with before, I try to offer them that opportunity so that we're maintaining that relationship. And then the last thing I would recommend is recommending them to others, for other opportunities.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn, Mercedes, and Chris, for sharing all the many great tips that you did. I think especially talking about how to engage before, during, and after event, it's very useful and lots of great takeaways. And yeah, all of your insights on fostering those local connections are very helpful and very inspiring. So thank you very much again for joining us today. And if we did not get to all of your questions, feel free to connect with us. Yeah.
I'm just answering the last question in the chat there about the swag form, but send me an email at Kaitlyn@culturedays.ca and we'll sort that out.
Great. Thank you very much, Kaitlyn and Mercedes. I'm just going to quickly wrap things up before we close the webinar. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Remember that Culture Days is less than a month away. There is still time to register your events, and you can easily do that through culturedays.ca/dashboard. All you need to do is create your account free. And we also invite you to look through the online listing. You can start finding events near you. There are already over 2,000 events registered all across Canada. So there is something for everyone. And stay up to date with news from the network, resources, and other learning opportunities by signing up for our national newsletter, as well as the regional newsletters. And again, if you have any follow-up questions for us, feel free to send us an email at info@culturedays.ca. And a reminder that the presentation slides and the recording of the webinar will be available to all of you next week, and you will receive it directly in your emails. Thank you very much, everyone, and take care.